Well, here we are again. Two shows in one day now, Terry. This is crazy. Episode 33, Leaving California Freedom podcast on Memorial Day of all things. And you know what? People don't stop wanting to leave California just because it's a holiday. Matter of fact, they probably think about it more today. So today we have Chad Hughes from San Diego and now living in Texas. Good afternoon, Chad.
Yeah, hi, David and Terry. It's good to be part of this.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Chad.
much for joining us. And Terry, it's about 90 degrees now here in Las Vegas. Not a cloud in the sky. I know it's hot there in Florida, you told me earlier.
It is. I think we're about 95, 96 right now. We're hoping for a little bit of a cool down into the low 90s a little later on. Been a dry season so far, and but that's okay. We got plenty of water. There's lakes everywhere. We got plenty of water. We just water the grass, and we pay for that. But it's the worst day in Florida is better than the best day in California.
Well, Terry, I want to tell you right off the bat at the top of the show that this is going to be the shortest show ever because I want to be respectful. Chad has a family, you have a family, and so do I. So we're going to get right to the point. We want to find out from Chad what's going on. We know a lot of people from San Diego are leaving, and a lot of them are actually going to Texas. So Chad, if you don't mind, could you share what's going on in San Diego and why are you seeing a lot of Californians moving to Texas? And by the way, tell everybody what part of Texas you're in.
Yeah, so I have a team in San Diego as well as in Austin, Texas, and the surrounding areas. We serve anywhere from Dallas down through San Antonio.
Okay. And and I understand you've been with the group for a long time. You're one of Terry's known you for a long time, and I'm just starting to get to know you. And well, I'll tell you, I'd really like to have a realtor friend in San Diego because a lot of people from San Diego come to Vegas. So maybe you could share a little bit about how you help people and when they're looking around at different cities. And I know you've helped people that have actually sold their home in California and then bought another one in Texas. So what kind of advice would you be giving to some of our members that are thinking about leaving the Golden State?
Yeah, that's a good question. We help quite a few people leave San Diego. Certainly, they're not leaving because of the weather. There's other factors that we hear all the time of reasons why they're leaving. But the advice that I would give is to check into the area, visit the area that you're planning on moving to, get familiar with it, visit it during all of the seasons ahead of time, maybe make it a year plan for you, and then understand the different taxes in each area too, not just the income tax, but property tax and some of the other stuff. That way, when you get there, it's not a surprise to you.
And maybe you could share you lived and maybe you could share what part of San Diego you lived and now are you permanently out of San Diego or do you go back and forth and live in both places? Where's your new home?
Yeah, so I was in East County, San Diego. My brokerage is in Santee, and I have permanently moved to Austin. However, I still have my team and our brokerage is still there in San Diego. I fly back to meet with clients and to do agent training and whatnot, probably once a month, sometimes twice a month.
Got it.
Yeah, but majority of my time now is spent in Texas.
And Terry, have you spent a lot of time in San Diego? I mean, he's right about the weather. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that for weather.
I couldn't agree more. I've done show events or business events at the Hotel del Coronado on Coronado Island.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's hard to get any better than that. That's such a beautiful place on a beautiful piece of the earth. But Chad, tell us what kind of adjustments you had moving from paradise to Texas.
Well, it's different. Being in Central Texas, I'm no longer near the coast, but we are going out to the coast next week to visit a little bit. The weather's different. It's something that same thing you would expect when you're moving to any other area. You just have to adjust to the differences there are. I don't have personal income tax anymore in Texas. However, if you don't, and that's why, I gave the advice of looking into the different taxes and everything that you have. In Texas, we have a higher property tax. Some areas are much higher. I mean, it could be double than some of the other areas. So just kind of doing your research and knowing where you're going, and what communities you're getting into, so that you understand what your payments are going to be and that kind of thing is important.
Well, that's where you can help people too, right? You can help them figure out where the maybe more tax advantaged places are. But I also know that a lot of the property tax money goes to the schools. So if you want to be in a better school district, you might have to pay a little higher property tax.
That's right. Yeah, and that's something that I've done quite a bit with people that are specifically moving from San Diego to Texas. It's also something that I bring up with people who are listing their homes in San Diego and going elsewhere. But I've made the move myself. I've helped a lot of family do the same thing, and also friends and just clients that are looking to make the move. So if it's there in Texas, I've seen it.
Well, and you've also, I also know that people hear Austin, they go, oh, Austin, I would never live in Austin. Well, you don't have to live in Austin. You could live in the surrounding area. You've got lakes in the area. You've got the hill country. You've got a lot of great areas geographically where you don't have to live in Austin if you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, some people are attracted to the culture in Austin, the city itself, and it's kind of an interesting thing where it's all kind of within the city limits. I mean, outside of Austin is much of what you think of the rest of Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I heard that one of the neighborhoods within Austin wants to secede. And they want to leave Austin.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk of that as well.
Yeah. Well, Chad, I want to stay respectful of time. This is going by really fast, and you've already given out some great advice. I wrote down on my notes that there were 3 things about leaving California when it comes to real estate, and I wanted to just kind of get your input on them. You already touched on one. The first one is keeping your home in California, and with tax liabilities and it could be complicated. Do you normally advise people if they're moving to go ahead and sell their house, or should they keep it? What's your take?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think it's very situational. So everybody's in a different part of their life and what they want to do. I think for some people, it's made sense for them to keep it, especially if they're going somewhere temporarily, or if they're going somewhere and they're kind of unsure of what they're doing. If they keep their home and rent it out, they always have somewhere to go back to, and they wouldn't have to repurchase at those inflated prices, because of California is always appreciating. But I think in general, in most cases, it makes sense to sell your home, and it gives you an advantage when you're moving to a new area, especially an area where the cost of living is lower, the home prices are lower. You've probably got some equity in your home in California, and if you can use that equity to put a good down payment or even buy cash in your new area, it gives you a huge advantage over some of the other local homeowners or home purchasers.
Well, that's great advice. And then the second one, and you already talked about this, if you want to elaborate it just a little bit more for our members that are thinking about leaving California, and we talk about this very often, Chad, it's probably the #1 topic that we talk about each week, and that is exploring the new areas and really having a good understanding. You go to these, maybe you have 2 or 3 top cities, and you go there and you really ask yourself the question, do I see myself living here? And do you think, obviously, is my life going to be better? Which we've never heard people coming back and going, our life is not better. The only thing we hear every week is we wish we would have done it sooner. So you touched on that. Do you have anything to add about exploring?
Yeah, I think the good thing and the bad thing about the times that we live in now is there's so much information available to you on the internet. And a lot of it's real and a lot of it's not. So when I start talking to people about when they're moving, and I ask them, why are they moving, and what are you looking for in your new community? And that way I can kind of help them, steer them in the right direction. Or when they come out here, I could take them to I'll take them to the community that they saw online that they fell in love with, or a neighboring community that has similar attributes. Or kind of meets what they're looking for a little bit more. So I would say, don't just do your research online. Get out there and drive around, explore the communities a little bit.
Well, do you have something you were thinking of, Terry?
No, I couldn't agree more. Drive the commute that you think you're going to have if you're going to be working a job and commuting. And I love Chad's idea. I can assure you, Austin in the winter is a whole lot different than Austin in the summer. And in San Diego,
That's
you're
right.
not really used to that, and so you're going to see
That's
some
exactly right.
extremes.
Well, and my
Yeah.
number three, Chad, is very similar to number one, but it's kind of got a twist in it. And I want to throw this one at you. And by the way, for those of our members that are listening, we don't rehearse this, we don't script this. It just comes out naturally for us. We help people with relocation, so I don't really want to have a scripted show. But I did have this one, Chad. It's kind of like number one, but maybe somebody sold their house too soon. They were like, I got to get out of California. So they sold their house too soon and they didn't know where they were going to end up going. That could really be a problem. And I guess that some of your clients, maybe they're like, I'm selling. I don't know where I'm going to go. But I think that goes back to number one. Do you want to touch on that one a little bit, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that does happen, and everybody's in a different situation. I think if you sell real early, finding it's always a good idea to rent for a little bit too, if you need to have a spot to go. But I've had people just go out and buy a mobile home or a motor home and just travel for a little bit and get to know the different, not just the different communities within a state, but the different states in general,
Mhm.
and find out what they like and don't like about different areas.
Understood.
Is that
And
kind of, does that answer the question? Or
it does, yeah, but it's very similar. So we just always, the more education and research you do, the better you're always going to be. And understand that this advice is free. You can talk to multiple realtors, multiple lenders. You can get the information. Don't ever be afraid to ask a question for sure. And then for those of our members that are on the fence, Chad, and they're, maybe they're not sure, it is overwhelming. They're kind of thinking, I really think it's time for me to go and explore something different. What advice would you give them if you were talking to a client and then they basically just said, we really think we want to leave California, but we're not sure, and they're 50-50 maybe. What would you say?
yeah, I mean, I would just have a good conversation with them about what the reasons why they're leaving, and find out what they're looking for and where they're going. And that's the great thing about this group, is that we have people in virtually every community within the country that you can kind of line them up with, so that they can chat with them about it, and get as much information as they can.
Jerry? No?
Well, I want to take a different route here. I want to ask Chad a question that he may or may not know the answer to. So a lot of people are saying, I noticed that California prices are continuing to appreciate for real estate.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us, Chad, do you have a feel for who's buying the houses in California for all those people who are leaving?
Well, yes, in I can speak to San Diego because I'm very in tune with that market. We do market reports every week and go over that with my team. So there are a lot of people. Well, there's a lot of different people that are buying. So San Diego is a huge military town. So there's always active duty military that are PCSing into the area, that need housing. They don't all want to live on base. They've got families, and they want to invest in real estate. So we see that a lot in San Diego. And the other thing is generational wealth. There's a lot of wealth that's being passed down, and family that doesn't necessarily want to move out of town, but they've now got this new money that they can use to purchase homes and stay where they're at.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And then for our members too, Chad, I know you help a lot of people leave the state. Maybe you could touch a little bit on it. How different is it? And Terry and I just got back from that 10-city tour for the Southern Freedom Tour. But a lot of our members, they don't really realize that they think that buying a home or selling a home is the same in the United States, but it's different in every state. Do you get into that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different in each state. So I'm licensed in California, Texas, and Arizona, and it's different in each of those states. California is a very buyer and tenant friendly state. Texas would lean more towards sellers and landlords, and just navigating the process. The negotiations are quite different. Understanding the different taxes and mineral rights and all that stuff that you wouldn't necessarily deal with in California as much. There are a lot of differences in it, and that's why I would really recommend doing your own research so you know what you're getting into, but definitely speaking with a professional who does it on a regular basis, who knows the area that you're going to, rather than just somebody who's sitting in California saying, well, yeah, I can, I've got someone in my network that I could get. You really got to talk with somebody that's professional
Absolutely.
to help you out.
Yeah, and like I said, this is our fastest show ever. So as we're wrapping up, and you've given out so much great information, we appreciate you so much. For those of you that are members of our Leaving California groups, if you didn't know it, we have 350 realtors across the country, as Chad mentioned. You can go to the files tab in our groups, and you can look for. We have lenders, we have movers, we have real estate agents. And then in closing, Chad, do you have maybe you have a story? Because I always feel like stories is what really helps people. And sometimes people will hear a story, and that might just be the story that they needed to hear, and then they take that leap of faith. But do you have a story about a family that left that resonates with you?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. I think just to give a general story, I would say one of the biggest kind of eye openers for people, especially retired military, disabled military, when they're moving out of California and into a state like Texas, you're moving into an area where there is no personal state income tax. But as a vet with a disability rating, you also get either a discount or waived property taxes as well, which is where the state, collects most of the taxes from you. So being able to move into somewhere where it's virtually tax-free from the state perspective has been an eye-opener for some people. A lot of vets don't know the benefits that they have available to them. And I always like sharing that information with them, especially when they don't know it ahead of time.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up veterans today because it is Memorial Day. I served in the Air Force for 4 years, and my service was nothing compared to the people that gave the ultimate sacrifice on Memorial Day. So I'd like to recognize them, and also to all of our veterans that are listening out there. As a realtor, and as Chad would tell you, and anybody, and Terry's a realtor as well. A lot of times, right now, the way the market's working, that there's a lot of people, a lot of sellers are giving seller incentives. And on a VA loan, you don't have to come up with any money down. It's a no money down. We got the sellers paying. I have clients here in Las Vegas where they thought that they were going to rent, and I was able to get them into a home that they can own with less money than it would have cost for a rental. So I'm really glad that you addressed a couple stories about veterans. And Terry, as we're wrapping up, we're going to get his contact information, which is on the screen, but maybe we'll get his email. And then do you have anything you want to say on Memorial Day?
Well, of course, I appreciate our veterans too, and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Very much appreciated. It's the only reason we can have this broadcast today. It's the only reason we live in the freedom that we have while we still have it, and that's what we need to continue to fight for. And Chad, you've been with us a long time. As David mentioned, you were one of our first realtors to join us, both in Texas and San Diego. So I want to appreciate your help throughout the years, and look forward to having you help many Californians relocate to Central Texas.
And
Yeah,
Chad,
absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say that I just would like for you to go ahead and say your closing thoughts. And if you don't mind sharing your email or the best way to get a hold of you, and anything else you wanted to say in closing would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate both of you having me on the show, and I appreciate being a part of this group that's helping people with one of the most daunting tasks they'll face, which is, uprooting their family from one area that they're comfortable with, they've lived in their whole lives, and moving across the country. If you have any questions about that process in general, or in the specific communities that I serve, I'm more than happy to have those conversations with you and line you up with somebody on my team that can help out. My phone number is area code 619-905-8473. And my email is my first name, Chad, CHAD, @missionrealtygroup.com.
All right. Well, I'm your host again, and I'm David Berry. I hope all of your barbecues and your family gatherings today are going to be very special. And let's not forget to think about our veterans that gave the ultimate price. And hope you have enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.